My name is JC Hewitt. I'm the head of the new Tempo ecosystem. So Tempo decided a few months back to create its own ecosystem to help app vendors and customers to integrate with our own products, such as Tempo Timesheet, Tempo Planner, and Tempo Budgets. On this note, if you want to know more about what we do and how we can help you integrate with our own products, I invite you to visit our developer website at tempo.io. Today, I'm going to have the immense privilege to actually present to you one of the first company vendors that integrated successfully with us. They built the Tempo command line interface, and I think it's going to make the life of the German admins much easier. And to present this new add-on, I would like you to please welcome from Bob Swift, Atlassian Add-ons, Appfire company, the most recognized tandem on the marketplace today, Mr. Bob Swift and Jeff Pearce. Please, the stage is yours.
Thanks, JC. So those of us at Appfire couldn't be any happier than to be doing this integration with Tempo. You know, Tempo, as well as Appfire, has been a leader in the marketplace for a long time. They have a lot of long-standing customers. I think combined we have something like 20,000 plus customers in 80 different countries, providing 60 to 70 different add-ons in the marketplace, which accumulates to about over 1 million downloads. So from an experience-wise, bringing Bob and Tempo together has been a great opportunity for us as well. So today we're going to be talking about our integration that we're doing with Tempo timesheets initially. But we also have on our roadmap plans to integrate with many of the other Tempo apps as well. And that should be coming out based on feedback that we get from the user community like yourselves, where we take that and what comes up next. So let's take a brief minute here to just review what Tempo Timesheets is. Tempo Timesheets is basically the market leader in time management within Jira, where your users can track their time easily through the powerful user interfaces. They can review that timesheet data and worklog data. They can add teams. They can create all sorts of different activities. They can do some strong reporting against that data across all of those different assets as well. So I'm pretty sure if you'd like to find out more about what Tempo Timesheets is all about, there's a few people around here that could answer some of your questions. So Tempo doesn't just build great user interfaces, right, for their products. They've also been hard at work building this REST API that allows integrators such as ourselves to interface with their Tempo applications. And the Appfire team here has been working pretty closely with the Tempo team and the Tempo development team to really refine that functionality and those use cases that we are targeting for this initial release. And all of that is built on this functionality that they're providing in their REST APIs. So let's talk a little bit deeper about what that's coming up. So I'm really proud to announce our newest product within the Bob Swift Atlassian add-ons, the command line interface suite of products that we have, the Tempo CLI. Basically, the CLI needs some form of interface into the applications that it's communicating with, and that's built on top of that Tempo REST API. So basically, our CLI sits on top of that Tempo REST API. And right now, this Tempo CLI that we have and that we're offering is available in an early access program in EAP, and we'll talk more about how you can become a participant in that if you're interested later on. So now I'm going to take a bit of a pause, and yeah, sorry about that. So we're going to just discuss a little bit of what a CLI is and what it stands for. It stands for Command Line Interface. So how many have actually used any CLI for any different products? Really great. I mean, that's a pretty good audience. How many have actually used any of the Bob Swift Atlassian CLI suite of products? Good, so that's a pretty good number. So CLI really lends itself to automation. And so when we start talking about where you want to be using and thinking about your CLI, you can go from anywhere from a simple task to pretty extensive implementations pretty quickly using a CLI. So as I mentioned, it stands for CLI, and you're used to using these powerful user interfaces within these applications. So a CLI really is basically another interface into those same applications. It just happens to be a text-based user interface that you can use through automation and some simple tasks quickly. And to use these CLIs, you really don't have to know any type of programming knowledge at all. You just have to know how to use a command line, and you can run these CLIs. And what our CLI does, it sits on top of that Tempo REST API, and it makes using those assets and those actions and items and tasks from Tempo that they provide a little easier than having to program it yourself. Not only that, our CLI is built on proven technology. The Tempo CLI is built on the same foundation that the rest of the Bob Swift Atlassian add-ons is built on, or the CLIs specifically. So that's proven technology that's been in the marketplace for quite a while. There's also a list of preset actions that come with the CLI. Many of those actions are available right out of the box, and they cover probably 80 or 90% of most of the use cases that any type of user would need to have access to. And if you need some more extensive or more powerful add-ons, you can combine these together. You can run them in batch. You can run them over and over, so it saves time that way as far as how that integration works. So what exactly can you automate with a CLI? Basically, any kind of content can be automated with the Tempo CLI. And that's just more than just content management or creating content. You can actually do things such as additional operations for adding, updating, removing, and listing many of the different objects and attributes that you're going to be dealing with the Tempo REST API. And that can be said for user management as well. So many of us have long checklists of items and work things that need to be done, or processes that need to be followed when a new user joins a team, or when we have a new team that needs to be created, or we have a new hire, or something like that. All of that can be automated really pretty much out of the box with our Tempo CLI. And if you need to dive in and get a little bit more sophisticated, like I said, you can do things such as if you have an onboarding process that requires many more steps, or if you have something that's a little more sophisticated as far as creating a new account and generating that data for that account, or maybe you have information and data in Jira and that Tempo timesheet data that you need to export and bring into some other application. You can do that as well with the CLI. So we're able to import that data or export that data so you can use it in other places and it can become much more useful to you. All right, so that's pretty much the highest level of what we're going to talk about from the new Tempo CLI. A quick story though, I've been working with Bob for a very long time, but most recently it's been with Appfire and working in the ecosystem. And I don't think I've ever had so many questions and folks come up to me and say, Bob, is he a real guy? Yeah, Bob is a real guy. It's not just a company. So it's, my privilege to introduce Bob here to talk more about the hard work that he's been doing as far as working on this new Tempo CLI.
Thanks, Jeff. It's a real pleasure to speak here today. Yes, I am a real person for those people that have the doubts. What I'm going to talk to you about is some of the more specifics related to the Tempo CLI. I do a number of, we have a number of CLIs. If you're familiar with the Jira CLI, for example, it's one of my passions, obviously, in terms of going forward. So with every CLI that we've produced, it starts relatively small and grows over time. And it grows over time based on customer feedback. And so it's part of the EAP process that Jeff was talking about. We really appreciate people trying things out, discovering what they can and cannot do with what we provide, and telling us, because we can add things to the CLI as customers need. So we started the Tempo CLI in that very way. We started with some very basic Tempo concepts, like teams, members, permissions, customers, accounts, worklogs, and we'll go through a process of continuing to add functionality to those capabilities and based on your feedback, add additional concepts and actions that we need. So I'm going to start with a few very simple use cases that will get you thinking about what are the things that I can do in this using this kind of an automation approach. Think of what automation would I like to do in my environment, and see if you get some ideas from some of these. So for example, one of the things we've heard from the Tempo folks is work logs need to be cleaned up. Somebody's made a mistake and I have to do the cleanup. How can I do that as quickly as possible and easily as possible? So CLI is a great thing for being able to quickly do things like that. Another major use case that actually applies to multiple CLIs, including the Tempo, is I've got a new customer, I've got a new project, I've got a new thing that I need to set up, and I need to set that up in a standard way. I don't want to forget about 3 or 4 things that need to be done. I want to set it up in a standard way. Automation is the way to do that. You document your specific steps, like we're indicating here, adding a customer, adding an account, the teams, and perhaps a Jira project related to that. Do it in a standard way, so when you get that done, it matches what you really want to do in your environment. And a final use case here is a lot of times there's data locked in applications like Jira or Tempo that you really want to make visible in other parts of your company. How do you do that? Well, there's various techniques. One of them is using the CLI to export that data in a format like CSV that can be applied to Confluence, Excel, using some of our own add-ons, for example, for doing that. Hopefully that will give you some ideas for your case, and you can come and tell us about that, and we can help. Thank you very much. Over to Jeff.
All right, so we have a few minutes left here, so you're probably all anxious to find out exactly how you can get your paws on the CLI, and this will be over shortly, thanks. So the Tempo CLI is available as an EA pre-program. Matt over here has some cards, as well as I have some cards, and you can pick them up at the Appfire booth and at the Tempo booth as well, that give you a URL to go out and let us know that you're interested in participating in that early access program. You know, like I said, the earlier you get in, the better it is for us to get your feedback and then be able to make some changes necessary for that first release that's going to be coming out. It's also going to be available in the marketplace by the end of the year. And the good news is that if you're a current owner of the Jira CLI or you own the Jira CLI, the Tempo CLI is no charge. There's no additional charge for the Tempo CLI on top of the Jira CLI. So that should be a good news for you that are using the Jira CLI out there. The other thing is, could you do this on your own? Absolutely, you could do this on your own. The Tempo team has done a great job providing the REST API and documentation, and they're promoting the fact that they want integrators into their product as well. So you could, if you have programming resources and you have that available to you, you could absolutely go out and build your own integration that's custom to what you need, or some application that you have in mind with respect to that. I'm sure that anybody at the Tempo booth could talk more about what they provide through some of their REST APIs and what's available there as well. So I think that's pretty much it. We have about a minute or two left for questions if there's anything that anybody would like to know or ask. And be sure to come and visit us over at the Appfire booth or the Tempo booth, and we can answer your questions there as well. All right, thank you.